Chapter 29. "Angelica?" Javea asked. He hadn't got used to just starting conversations. Back when phones were attached by a cable to the wall in the home, you had to ask who it was at the other end just to make sure you had the right person. Now phones sat in the pocket of the person you had dialed directly. This question seemed redundant. Javea still asked. "Javea." The single-word answer wasn't like her. He wondered if he had upset her. He had cut her off during their last conversation. But she knew he was a detective, knew he could be called away at any moment in time. She had a brother who was in exactly the same profession back at home in the northeast of England. It couldn't be that, could it? Surely not. But before he had ended the call abruptly, she had hesitated when he had asked her to dinner. This might be the problem. Before he had the chance to think of something else to say in an attempt to break the discomfort, he heard Tommy laughing in the background. She was distracted by her child, not playing the silent game with him. "Is that Tommy?" he asked, another question he already knew the answer to. "Yes, we're down by the pool. Tommy's splashing around, doing what mams do best. Watching." "Sounds like fun. Sorry about earlier, I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that." "Javea, it's fine. Javea, it's fine. My mind was elsewhere. You just caught me with my guard up for a second. I slipped back into the old Angelica, the one I came to Spain to get away from. Well, the new Angelica is here now. If you've not been inundated with other offers, I'd like to go out for something to eat with you tonight." The pair of them laughed. They were both friendly people, but guarded enough that they didn't let many people into their inner sanctum. Javea wouldn't have asked anyone else. Angelica had arranged a babysitter and then asked Delia, still no reply, so they were free to grab something. Half an hour later, Angelica was in the bathroom. Tommy was getting a bath. He didn't see the point of getting into a bath for a wash when he had just spent an hour in the water of the pool. Angelica wanted him washed and ready for bed when she left, when Mariana made the 5-yard trip from her next-door apartment. Angelica was washing her face. It was a twice-daily routine, usually when she got ready in the morning and again last thing at night. But if she was going out, then she would bring the second occasion forward. Once her face felt cleansed, she applied makeup. Not so much that she would look like it was a date, but enough that it didn't appear that she wasn't taking care of herself. Angelica was happy that she had been blessed with a son. Pressures on women on how they looked and dressed was strong. She felt it wasn't quite as powerful for the male of the species. Tommy was out and getting dried by now. She would do a final check, the armpits, the backs of the knees and between the toes, all the places he missed regularly. Tommy was pretty good at getting himself ready. He had learned to be. There were only so many hours in the day for a single mother to do all the things needed to keep a home clean and tidy, plus look after a child. Javea shaved with his electric shaver. He had moved over from a wet shave a few years earlier when the price of razors coupled with the fact you could only get 1 or 2 days' decent shave out of them meant he was spending far too much on items that ended up in the bin several times per week. There was only so much cash to go around. Although he lived on his own, had simple tastes and never started a family, his money went in several different places. Firstly, he still sent money to his parents every month. It was more of a tradition in Spain than it was in Wales, but he was doing well enough to spare £100 a month from his pay packet. Then there were the gambling debts that he had run up over the years. His gambling went out of control around a decade earlier, nearly bankrupting him. He just about managed to keep everything together. He feared for his career at the time, thinking that a man who couldn't manage his own finances wouldn't be allowed to manage the finances of the murder investigation team for the local police. That was more than half of his income, still paying off debts when he chased loans nearly 20 years ago. Javea felt that he was obliged to pay it back. The first chunks were to the loan sharks that had given him money when nobody else would. There were 2 reasons for this. Firstly, the interest rates were the highest. Secondly, these were the kind of guys that wouldn't flinch giving a beating to someone who worked for the police if they were late on their payments. His kneecaps were in the place he wanted them to remain. After shaving, he moisturised. When he first did so, back in his teens, his father mocked him, laughing incessantly. But he persisted. His skin and the heat of the Spanish sunshine needed some moisture putting back in. Angelica put on a few outfits, checking each one in the mirror for how it made her look before taking them off and putting them either in the maybe pile or back in the wardrobe. She only had 10 to 15 outfits in total. She knew she had more than enough time to try them all on twice and decide before she was due to meet Javea at the end of her street, near to the sea, in an hour. She chose an outfit that ticked all the boxes as far as she was concerned. It was a dress, red, high top, slit in the leg but respectable. Delia had called her mumsy when she wore it on a girls' night out. That felt like the perfect description for a dress to go out for dinner with Javea. She wasn't sure about their future direction. No need in giving out the wrong signals. They would have a chat, have a laugh, and have some great food. Angelica hadn't experienced anything other than great food when she went out in Javea. The Spanish wouldn't put up with anything less. The tourists would simply go somewhere else. A poor meal or menu would be the end of a place in a few weeks. There was that much choice that you just had to offer people great food and great service. Javea set off. He had much further to walk to get to the end of Angelica's street. He was a good 20 minutes away if he walked at full speed, but he didn't want to arrive soaked in sweat. The temperature was still in its 20s, warm enough to go out in short sleeves. He had chosen a charcoal grey pair of Calvin Klein trousers that he bought 15 years earlier. His only regret with them was that he hadn't bought 10 pairs of them. They would have kept him going in trousers for the rest of his life. He paired this with a blue shirt with a white stripe along the left side from top to bottom. He had tried orange and pink shirts before deciding they were a little too much for the occasion. He loved those shirts, but didn't want to give off the impression that he was overdressing. He'd asked her out for a chat and a bite to eat. He felt the need to dress for that occasion. Angelica said her goodbyes to Tommy. He had already switched off to his mother and tuned into Mariana. The elderly neighbour had a wonderful energy about her. Tommy loved being in her company, but he had no idea why. Angelica loved being in her company. She had every idea why. Mariana was calm, emotionally intelligent and interesting. But most of all, she made people around her feel like they were better. Better than they were without her. Nothing egotistical about it. She was just someone who brought out the best in others. Angelica started walking. She let the slight breeze run through her hair and thanked herself that she had tossed a cardigan in her handbag. She might need it on the walk home. At the end of the street, she could see Javea with a smile all over his face. Approaching, Angelica shouted over the street, "You don't smile often enough." "Feels good to let your hair down every now and again. You look lovely, by the way." Javea blushed more than Angelica at this comment. He was trying to be friendly. "You would if you were wearing this," Angelica responded, breaking the ice and restoring the natural colour to Javea's face. They walked along the front towards the Arenal. Javea said he had the perfect place for them. Angelica trusted his judgment. The warmth of the night brought a contentment to both.